Welcome to the Mental Fitness Podcast. Today's entrepreneurs are mental athletes that have to know about the mind and how to keep it fit. Our goal is to increase our resilience against stress and anxiety, optimize our productivity, motivation, and optimism by learning about the human mind through psychology, neuroscience, and human behavior. I'm your host Ozan. I'm a founder who has experienced the challenges of launching and growing a business and a keen student of human behavior over the last 15 years. I'll share with you what I know and learn. Hundreds of impactful, behavior-changing ideas are waiting to be discovered by us. Let's begin now. Hello and welcome to the Mental Fitness Podcast for entrepreneurs. I'm your host Ozan, and this episode will be our final episode for some while. Now, perhaps we will go back to mental fitness episodes for entrepreneurs and record more episodes in the future, but for the time being, I have decided to pause this project. And I'll share a few anecdotes and a few of my experiences that's led me to this decision point. I also wanted to record this episode just for the sake of not leaving this open-ended and give you, the audience for this, a closure almost. So the key thing to know here is there are a lot of projects that I'm currently focused on. One of them, for example, is creating content to help young people make better career decisions and life decisions and learn about entrepreneurship through the TikTok content that I do. Another one is the Startups of London project. Another one is the Toolbase.io project, which helps people from different backgrounds, including marketing, entrepreneurship, tech, find the best SaaS tools for themselves. Another project that takes a good portion of my time is HGO Video Learning, which is the #1 video learning brand in Turkey and is growing well. And there are also other consultancy projects that are coming up. And with the pressure to manage a team and also plan for the future, I have found it increasingly difficult to find the motivation and create the mind space to be recording this podcast. Hence, some of the irregularity with the publishing of the last episodes over the few weeks. Now, as an entrepreneur, in my experience and from what I've observed from a lot of people, killing a project is never easy, and we always try to balance between two things. On the one hand, for a good amount of traction, you need consistency, stability, and be really patient in the type of content you create and see it for the long term. Otherwise, this is true for a lot of channels, for YouTube, for TikTok, for Twitter. Even if you create the best tweet or the best video, but you don't follow it up, you're not consistent with your production, then you will not see your traffic increase. It's the same with podcasts. And on the other hand, of course, the consistency pressure is there. But on the other hand, the market conditions change very, very fast, very, very frequently. So let's take Instagram, for example. 5 or 6 years ago, building an audience in Instagram had a certain level of difficulty with it. There was a certain balance of people who wanted to consume content on Instagram versus a certain number of people who created content there. And a few years ago, it was like the balance was more in favor of the people who consumed the content, which made the job of the creator easier to reach bigger audiences. However, if you look at the state of things, it's a very competitive market now. If you have a strategy that doesn't work well, and this might be true for Twitter, for other channels, if you're trying to grow an audience on Facebook, for example, no matter how consistent you are, you will not be able to reap the same benefits if you had been investing there when the platform was growing at a rapid pace. Why is this relevant? I'm just trying to point out the fact that sometimes markets change, sometimes conditions change, and sometimes you have internal factors that change. The opportunity might still be there, the problem for the people might still be there, but you, as the creator, might find that your life is different, your priorities are different. Now, in my case, and for the case of the mental fitness podcast for entrepreneurs, I think the issue, the problem, or the potential benefit of optimizing your mental world to be a good entrepreneur is more important than ever. And I've said some of the key things that I wanted to share with you in the beginning, 10 to 20 episodes of this podcast. There are a lot of more things that I would like to share, but it means a certain amount of dedication, pre planning, and consistent production, which I have found I'm not able to do at this stage. So there is an inherent tension here, and I think this might be a useful guide for you entrepreneurs out there when deciding to kill or stop a project and start a new one versus trying to decide if you should focus on being consistent and create more content there. And it's a different type of a scale that I think balances the two different ends. I almost imagine this as putting brick on brick. In that now, let's make a mental experiment with you together. Imagine you're trying to build a wall, and for you to be successful, that wall needs to reach a certain height, let's say 10 meters. And each time you put a brick on top of each other, you're using a certain system, a certain way of doing things. And in this analogy, let this way of doing things be a particular project that you're working on. And the 10-meter goal is where you want to be in terms of the value that you've created to other people, or the money you've made, or the influence you have, which is a reference point for you to be successful. Now, in this analogy, you have a certain method of putting a brick on top of another brick. Now, each time you put some and you build the wall up to 1 meter, you learn a new skill. You say, aha, I have actually built this wall to, let's say, 2.5 meters, but now I know a better way, I know a faster way of building this wall. But for you to be able to use that new method, you need to start from zero again. Now, if you say, okay, I have already built the 2.5 meters and I would like to just see this through to the end with the same method, and then this is what we call sunk cost. Just because you have invested some time and some effort into building that first 2.5 meters of that wall, you are blind to an opportunity that would, in the end, at the very net, mean you spend less time to build that 10 meters if you adopt the new strategy. So as entrepreneurs, because you make a lot of mistakes, because you make a lot of new experiments, because you try a lot of new things, this is a theme that comes again and again. So once you find something, a better way of, a faster way of, a quicker way of doing something, the usual advice is to really do not be obsessed with the sunk cost, just do the faster, better, quicker thing, and so on. But this also has a danger as well. So if you obsessively divert to the very extreme end of this, what happens is each time each time you build 1 meter up in the wall, you find a better system. But every time you reset the system, you start from scratch. So in reality, you're never able to reach that 10 meters, which you would have if you just stuck with one system. So this is the dilemma here. On the one hand, you have to be open to the possibility and to the productivity that comes from starting from scratch. And on the other hand, you have to be very careful of not overdoing that and just trying to balance those two out. And this means necessarily trying something, setting goals, reaching to a certain milestone, and then taking a breather, look retrospectively at what you've built so far, what the result of that, where that sits in your life, and then readjust. Now is a period of readjustment for me, and I'm doing this because I want to protect my mental health as well as an entrepreneur. If I try to focus on all of the projects that have been very dear to me, and if I keep on taking new projects, but if I do not let go of the old projects, what happens is I put myself in an impossible situation. Now I have a few new opportunities that are very, very exciting for me, in both in the Startups of London front, both in the HGO video learning front, as different consultancy projects, or as different content, one of which is a surprise project which will actually allow me to see my limits writing a script for the first time. So there are these new opportunities that come all the time, and in your life there are new opportunities as well. So to make space for new opportunities, you have to kill some of the projects. You have to put them into hibernation, put them to sleep, so you can have that mental space. And here I think the key thing is prioritizing the amount of headspace, the mental focus you have, rather than time. Now, in my current circumstance, I indeed do have the time to be able to recording this mental fitness podcast for entrepreneurs for the foreseeable years. But I'm finding it very difficult to create this content because I'm finding it very, very difficult to prioritize this. There are a lot of things going on in my head. Hence, it is difficult to do all those task switching mental hard work when I go from project A to project B to project C to project D and to project F, and then again to project A within a span of 5 or 6 hours, which means my productivity is diminished in each of these projects. So I'm trying to minimize the amount of task switching there is within my life. Now, there is no single perfect answer or a perfect balance to this. It changes for everyone. I've always been interested in a lot of things simultaneously, even when I was a kid. So, and I have tried the other end as well. For about 10 months, I have tried being a singular focus, singular project type of a guy. It did not work out well for me. I find it very dry. It builds more anxiety within me because I'm ambitious and I want to do great things. So working on different projects feels me richer, feels me more valuable, feels me more productive, and that feeling actually energizes me. But this has to do with my personality, and it's not the case for everyone. So I know myself, so try to know yourself, what motivates you, and build a system around that. And this is this is kind of the gist of it. I do love this type of interaction. I love creating a podcast content. I cannot tell you how much I value mental fitness, and especially the area where mental health, the psychological optimization of an individual meets entrepreneurship and building a business. This is my passion. I love this, and I think this is incredibly important. But for the time being, I'm going to put this on hold, and I will not be recording any more mental fitness podcast episodes for some time. I believe for an indeterminate amount of time, but perhaps at some time I might come back to this, perhaps in a different format, perhaps through a different channel. And that's it. That's it for today. As a call to action, as a way to say goodbye, take a look at the content that we create on startupsoflondon.com. You can take a look at my LinkedIn profile and connect with me over there. You can send me an email at Ozan, Ozan, at commonwisdom.co.uk if you have any questions for any partnership ideas or for any type of a collaboration. I wish you the best in all of the endeavors that you've embarked on. It's truly a remarkable journey, this entrepreneurship journey. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't trade it for anything else. So from the bottom of my heart, I wish you the best. Keep your mental health. Know when it's time to end the project, and take care of yourselves.